Hello, I'm Noel, this is Antonia from Boxtail Soup Theatre Company, and this is another Boxtail Scoop. Please do give us a like or hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying these videos, that'd be great.
Or leave us a comment.
Leave us a comment
if you want to as well. This is part 2 of the videos that we promised that are reflecting back on what we did during the research and development week, the first week of rehearsals, versus what we ended up with in the real show. I keep saying that, I know, it's like it's a fake show and it's rehearsals, but anyway, whatever. So we are going to carry on with that. So we got to the end, we ended with Marley last time, and we're moving on chronologically in the show to The Ghost of Christmas Past next. And this entry of The Ghost of Christmas Past is again an example in the end, as you'll see when we compare the two bits of footage, of something which we, in essence, we kept pretty much exactly the same. It was just about the finessing of the moment. Yeah. We knew that we wanted The Ghost of Christmas Past and The Ghost of Christmas Present to have head pieces, head wreaths, if you like, that had lighting within them, because we thought that would give them a sort of magical, otherworldly quality. And with The Ghost of Christmas Past, in the book, it's a candle. So it made sense for that part of the...
Yeah, and we wanted to have this sense that it was emanating light.
Yes.
Which we did keep in the final version.
So obviously, again, in the rehearsal footage, you'll see we don't have any of the costume, we don't have the headpiece, we don't have any of the proper set. We did have the 2 trunks, but other than that, we don't have anything else. So we're busking through without those things. Yeah. So we'll show you that clip now from the rehearsal. So the hour itself and nothing else, do you go from there?
The hour itself and nothing else. Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am. Top of page A.
Yeah. Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas Past.
Long past?
No, all past. There'll be more room.
Yeah. Well, spirit, please, will you be covered?
You can move that one at that point then?
Oh, yes.
When I come by then.
Yeah, because I was going to kind of... Spirit, please, will you be covered?
What? Would you so soon put out the light I give? Am I here now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is it not enough that you are one of those who... Oh, no, sorry, not that. Would you so soon put out the light I give? And as you can see, I mean, it's a bit scrappy. We did another cut for you there where, again, we got confused.
I think it's really... It's worth pointing out that this is a really good example of what you're trying to do in that first week, what you're trying to do in the very first... in trying to get through the show for that first time. You're not trying to finesse the great moments of acting or anything like that. Oh gosh, no. You're not trying to do any detailed work on puppetry or anything, but you're trying to physically solve the storytelling problems that you're presented with. And I think we've definitely said in one of the previous videos, this story obviously has a lot of challenges in it in terms of the ghostly characters and how you make them appear, how you make them disappear, and in the way that they travel from place to place. The Ghost of Christmas Past, takes Scrooge flying out the window and takes him off to different locations, and they fly over different landscapes. So you're trying to find solutions practically to those problems, and that's what we're doing here.
We'll come to that moment, in fact, in a minute. But first, let's show you the footage from the dress rehearsal now.
Mm-hmm. What time is it? Was it a dream or not? The hour itself and nothing else. Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas Past.
Long past?
No, your past.
Spirit, cupboard.
What? Would you so soon put out the light I give?
Forgive me, Spirit.
So you can see very much that it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just, hopefully you'll agree, more beautiful, more elegant and properly choreographed, and obviously there's costume, there's lighting, there's all those things that we didn't have during the rehearsals. And I think that with this moment, the most important thing when we started finessing it was making sure that this is one of those moments in the show where quite a lot of pieces of set have to be moved, like the trunks have to be moved, the posts have to be moved in order to create the picture of the Ghost of Christmas Past. We wanted the Ghost of Christmas Past to have this seamless journey where basically you felt like she wasn't going to stop. She was just going to carry on in her journey no matter what happened.
Yeah,
she was
regardless
going to
of what's in her way or what's around her, she's
just resolutely
unstoppably
doing
moving,
this thing, which gives a status, I think, to that character at that particular moment. But for Scrooge, it was incredibly important that for Noel that he wasn't feeling like he was just furniture moving.
No, and we really tried to avoid that.
Yeah.
And whatever show, whatever we're doing, we try to stay away from just kind of it being a practical scene change where we're just moving stuff around so that it gets into the next picture. We try and make sure it's part of the storytelling, and it's that it contributes somehow to the atmosphere and the journey of the sense of the scene and the overall story.
So I think for that bit, for you with Scrooge, there was a sense of fear and awe of this spirit, and therefore
And it's this idea that he's kind of cowering behind the furniture and moving various bits of things and trying to stay. And we're making that nice circular journey so that he's trying to keep the stuff in between the ghost and himself.
So that was that moment. But you can see, I think, in essence, again, what we came up with in rehearsals was basically what we ended up with, but with a bit of beautifying along the way.
Yeah.
Then the next moment, which is just a brief little moment, which Noel mentioned a minute ago, in fact, obviously there's the problem of the Ghost of Christmas Past and Scrooge having to fly out of the window into the memories then of the past. And so we decided that we wanted to do this help ourselves with height. So obviously we've got the Ghost of Christmas Past stood up on the top of the upended trunk.
Scrooge is beacon of light on this scene.
And Scrooge is on top of the other one, a little lower but nonetheless raised from the floor. And then we decided we would use the costume it would be nice to have a piece of the costume that would then be able to be given to Scrooge, that would give them a connection between the two of them with a little bit of whilst being able to maintain some distance, that would take them out of the window. So here's the rehearsal footage of that moment.
Bear but a touch of my hand, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
And then walked
And then
away
we've
to
got
the other end.
nice,
Yeah.
which won't be coming from my neck, it'll be coming from there. Sorry.
And then there was
the best way I can do it.
a sort of rock back, I guess, that then goes into a like ooh, music.
And then music. A clear, cold winter day. Snow upon the ground.
And as you can see, we didn't have
It's
a
a lovely
costume.
scarf.
It's my first attempt at knitting many years ago. It's dreadful, but it served a purpose and helped us to just get the idea. But obviously you have to have quite a lot of faith, I think, at this stage, and vision for what it could look like. Because I mean, in that, if you were going just off that, you'd think they're nuts. This just is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's very true. I think it's partly because of our experience now. I think we have more of a clear idea of what we can achieve, what we can make. Because I think if you had less faith in that, it would be easy to dismiss an idea like that and go, "Well, this looks rubbish. This looks stupid.
Yeah.
This is never going to work." And we did come up with a few different variations, and we had ideas where we were going to try and get like the cityscape again or
Yes,
something.
we did.
But it was all overcomplicated.
Yeah, simplicity is always the key we find with anything. So now you'll see this moment in the dress rehearsal.
Touch of my hand, and you shall be upheld in more than this. A clear, cold winter's day, with snow upon the ground.
And obviously the costume is there. lighting makes a big difference for this
and the
moment as
sound
well, and the
helps as
sound
well.
helps.
But you know, that's all part of it. That's all part of your considerations.
But in essence, it's the same thing. In essence, it's what we came up with, just again with that kind of icing on top, I suppose, and the finesse of it. The other thing I suppose, which is slightly interesting, maybe obviously we've said we don't worry about the acting at all in that first week. We also don't really worry too much about the voices, and I worked quite a lot on the voice for the Ghost of Christmas Past, so she didn't sound sort of all wafty and sort of.
Yeah, it was a bit more grounded in the end, wasn't it? Yeah.
So that was something that got changed very much. The next moment we're going to show you is an example where in the first week we don't try and cover everything, we try and get a rough sketch of the whole thing. And where there are moments that clearly need to be choreographed, we tend to skip over them. So we knew that at Fezziwig's party, which happens during the Ghost of Christmas Past section, we knew there was going to be a dance. And in the rehearsal, we just skipped over this. For me, quite literally, in fact. You'll see that in this clip now.
Music, a bit of a slappity clappity.
So yeah, we've got some kind of music, some kind of dance, and it's really fun, and we have a good time, some kind of music.
Fezziwig.
Oh,
Mr. Christmas, and then you're like, oh, Mrs. Fezziwig, get the
Mrs.
mulled wine on or
Fezziwig,
something.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Boys, get the mince pies.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Fezziwig. Oh, Merry Christmas, Mr. Grimhaven. Mr. Clumpy.
And then it's you
And then you're doing
Wonderful. Dear old Fezziwig, such a wonderful party. There were dances, there were forfeits, there were mince pies and beer.
Oh, I just can't
Merry
remember.
Christmas. Oh, yes, Spirit, I remember this. Such a joy, such a happy night.
So as you can see, I was having a lot of fun there, and Noel was making up character names. Can't remember what it is that he said, but there's some excellent
Mr.
name
Grimhaven
for Mr. Grimhaven or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. So we just allow ourselves a moment to muck around and have fun.
Yeah,
and
we
see
know
where
there's
it
something that's got to go there, but there's really no point in spending time, precious time, you know, at the very beginning when you're trying to solve all these other difficult problems. We know, okay, there's going to be a moment there where there's going to be a little dance. We can work that out.
And in fact,
later.
I think we choreographed that dance. Those are the kind of things that happen relatively late on in the process. I think that wasn't really until the end of the second week or even the beginning of the last week of rehearsals that we choreographed the dance, which you will now see as the dress rehearsal footage here.
Mrs. Fezziwig's bunting. She's outdone herself this year. Whoa! And up. And up. Hey, up. Hey!
Hey!
Hey! Hey! Oh! Merry Christmas!
Oh, yes, Spirit. I remember this. A wonderful party. There were dances, there were forfeits, there were mince pies and beer. Oh, yes, Spirit. I remember this. Such a joy. Such a happy night.
So obviously a little more finessed by that point.
But you know, it's just a bit of fun. So it was something that we worked out relatively late, like you said.
So that's that moment. And then the last one we wanted to show you is moments where it's to do with puppetry, really, because we hadn't really covered that where we had puppets in the rehearsal week. This section is from The Ghost of Christmas Future, two characters, Old Joe and Mrs. Dilber, and they're the ones who take Scrooge's bedclothes and his shirt and everything after he has died in the future to sort of profit from the sale of them. In the rehearsal week, we had the two puppets. We had their heads and their shoulders and arms, but they had no costume or anything. So they were very
they're
much a
unfinished
skeleton.
puppets. That's the first thing. Is you're often working with things that aren't complete.
We had our scripts, which is always a nightmare when you're trying to puppeteer.
But we did already have we had the kind of idea of how we wanted them to appear. So they were going to come out of the trunk, and we kept that.
So here's the footage from the rehearsal.
Some kind of music.
Oh, come into the parlour.
Oh, here, shut the door of the shop. Oh, how it squeaks. There ain't so rusty bit of metal in the whole place as its own hinges, I believe. I'm sure there's no such old bones here as mine. Oh, come in, come in.
Hello there, old Joe. Have a look at what I've bought you here.
Sorry. Obviously that would be okay, and his arm wouldn't do that.
I think your line carries on, does it? Something about dead
Sorry.
person.
Who's the worst for?
Who's the worst?
Who's the worst for a lot of a few things like these? He's a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
And again, here I think it's knowing what is important to work on during that week, and what it's important just to say, okay, that'll work in theory. We now need to move on to the next bit. We'll finesse that later on.
Yeah. You can't allow yourself to get bogged down in the details.
No. So the puppetry in that clip, as you will see, was appalling. Really, it was, the eye lines are all wrong. We're not worrying about that at all. Their arms are flailing about all over the place. I think old Joe's arm falls off the trunk at one point.
But again, our experience now tells you, we know what we're doing with that. We'll be able to finesse that
Later on.
and it will look good in the end. So we don't need to worry about it for now. That's a rough sketch of how we're going to deal with that scene.
And the work that then goes in, so we'll show you the clip from the dress rehearsal in a second, but in between the two, the work that went on really for those kind of moments it's work that you described it really well a minute ago.
I think the key thing is it's stuff that you don't notice. If it's done well, it's the kind of thing that an audience hopefully doesn't even think about.
No.
So if the puppetry works well, especially when you've got bits where you're double puppeteering, as in both of us are operating a puppet together, it has to be choreographed. You have to think about who's going to move which arm at which time, who's going to gesture on which word, but it should be seamless and unnoticeable in the final product if you've done it well.
Yeah, they should be brought to life in a way that you believe
That feels natural.
Yeah, and that feels natural. Yeah. So here's the footage of that little bit from the dress rehearsal.
Come into the parlour, shut the door of the shop. Oh, how it squeaks. There ain't such a rusty bit of metal in the whole place as its own hinges, I believe, and there ain't any such old bones here as mine. Well, come in, Mrs. Stilber.
Hello, old Joe. Have a look at what I bought you here, eh? Who's the worst for a lot of a few things like these? Not a dead man, I suppose.
No, indeed.
And as you can see, there were various things, as Noel said. We choreographed the movement of old Joe coming out, and we made sure that the picture was nice. So in the rehearsal footage, I've got Mrs. Dilber sort of down by the side of the trunk with the script. It was mainly because the script was on the floor, but we made sure then that she's effectively standing up next to what we felt like was a sort of countertop of in a shop, and it just gives the audience it's a much more pleasing picture of the two puppets there.
And that's the kind of thing then that having worked through that stuff in that first week of rehearsal, so we get our rough sketch, those are the things that we then come back on, and we probably have a few days on puppetry specifically where we go through each of the puppetry scenes in the show and we'll work specifically on the choreography and the detail for that scene. And
when we're using new puppets like we were for this show, puppets that we've made specifically for this show that haven't been used in another show before, you have to work on the eye line and all sorts of things like that, and all those kind of things take time, and they're the things that make a massive difference. But as you say, hopefully the audience won't even...
It's the sort of thing that you really notice if it's wrong.
Exactly.
But if it's right, it just kind of seems natural and you don't really think about it.
So I think those are all of the clips that we wanted to show you. We hope we've shown you... We tried to pick moments where it was showing you a kind of mixture of various things and processes that we go through. We found it really fascinating, like I said, looking back at that first... week, and really actually how much we'd done. And I think it's worth saying at this point, before we finish, if you're doing your very first show and you're finding the style of your company, then you're very unlikely to get that much done in that first week. We have been working together for a very long time now, really, for years on shows, and we have a shorthand in rehearsals. We have a shorthand for how we create things and for the kinds of pictures that we want to make and the kind of storytelling we like to do. So it means that we can put together the rough sketch of a show in a week because we've done the prep work in all the other shows we've done.
You're making reference to all those previous shows, to all those previous decisions, to all those previous things that you've
moments
done.
When you've spent too long on a particular moment in a previous thing and you're like, oh, we know we did that then, let's not do that now. So I think that's really important to say that you know, we wouldn't have got that far that quickly early on.
No.
But we do now have a vocabulary and a shorthand now that makes it that much easier to get to that stage. So there we are.
As ever, if you've got any questions or anything else you'd like to know, or there was something you wanted to ask about, then just drop us a message or leave us a comment and we will do our best to answer it. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching.